Welcome, friends and family, to I think episode 6 of D1 All Stars. Today's guest is Miss Shalicia Johnson. She is, we had a conversation before we got online. Said, what are we going to title you? And she went with the title of Sparkly Badass. So
you forgot magical.
Oh, Sparkly Magical Badass. So we're going to go with that. She is a resident of the King James, Jamestown area, and she is also the owner of Aerostar Photography, as well as somebody with over 2 decades of experience in early childcare. So we're going to talk all the things, love, life, kids, photos, whatever comes up, we'll end up talking about it. So welcome, Shalicia, to the program. Welcome to D1 All Stars.
Hey, thank you, Joe. I'm so excited to be on here.
Absolutely. So tell us about your magic and your sparkles and all of the things. What's your story?
Well, I got my sparkles probably from my mom. Her name is Jan, and she's amazing. So that probably is the end of my story, is that I'm Jan's daughter. She's fantastic. I was born and raised in Madison by my single mom, and she is probably hands down the most incredible woman on the planet. No offense to the other women on the planet.
Tie with my mom.
Okay, I guess I'll let my mom tie with your mom. Let's see. Gosh, so yeah, I've been here my entire life. I was raised as an only child, but I actually have 3 older half sisters and 2 younger half brothers. And I was the baby of the family until my brother Bo was born when I was 20. So there is a significant age range between my oldest sister and my youngest brother. So did you did 20-year-old you bully? Did I bully my brother?
Or were you beyond that at that point?
So since he was, we just have the same dad, but we didn't live in the same place. Me being an early childhood educator, I was so just in love with him when he was a baby. I actually didn't get to spend a lot of time with him. Just some family dynamics on that side. And then my dad, our dad passed away when I was 21 and Bo was 19 months old. And so after that, I didn't have a lot of access to them. But when Bo was a baby, I tried to spend every second that I was allowed to spend with him.
Yeah.
So, and he looked exactly like me when he was born. So so I'm 5'4", and now he's 25 and about 6'4", but he still looks exactly like me. So it's kind of funny.
Awesome. So are you really close with your older siblings?
Not really. They're all, we didn't have much contact growing up. I think at the time they were all in Indiana. The middle sister, I think she's the middle, I've never met. But then my other 2 sisters are on Facebook now, so we can keep up that way, keep in touch that way, and we can, check in on each other and see what we're doing, that kind of stuff. So, God bless social media for keeping in touch with people. So that's been really cool.
So fun story. I met a long lost brother on Facebook, and he has the same name as the brother who I grew up with, and they're about the same age. So I have 2 brothers named Alex. So I get you. I relate to you. I didn't know all that about you, but that's really cool.
Yeah.
So mom's awesome. You said you've worked with, in the early childhood space. Is that something that you were sort of always drawn to as a kid, or is it something you discovered along the way? How'd you get into that path?
I think I'm still pretty good with kids, but and maybe it's growing up with Grandma Bakken. I have to give a shout out to my extended non-family family, but Grandma Bakken had a bunch of kids and a bunch of grandkids, And I always say that she took care of all of her grandkids and a couple of strays. So, so I was one of the strays or spares. And I think that might have helped because we all grew up together because I was raised an only child, like I said, but we all grew up together. So I grew up with like all these cousins, these siblings who are cousins and things. And sometimes there would be younger kids in there. Some of the cousins are older than I am. And so I think we always we didn't look after ourselves. I mean, we were supervised. I mean, it was the late 70s, early 80s. So we weren't like that supervised.
Latchkey kids.
Right. She'd shout out the window when it's time to come and eat. But so I don't know. I think maybe I don't know why I started. I started babysitting when I was probably 12, same age as most people. Yeah. And then I just but part of it also might have been when I was in high school, I wanted to be a photographer and I was really interested in architecture. And we had, those nights, those career nights or whatever that people come out and they talk to you and you can go. And of course, this was the 90s. So room to room and you'd go in and kind of sign up for the people. Yep. I was discouraged by both of them. They're like, yeah, don't be a photographer, man. Like you're never going to make it. And I'm like, these people are like supposed to be helping me. And the same with the architect. They're like, it's really hard unless you get into a really big firm. You're just like working all the time. And I was like, what? So I don't know if like in my formative years, if I was like, well, I guess the only thing I could do is play with kids. Like I have no idea. Yeah. I ended up going to school for early childhood education. And so I've been doing that for 26 years now. So where I got my start, I'm not quite sure, but I think the Bakkens probably had something to do with that.
So what's the element of working well with little kids? Because I mean, every different, I've worked with youth for a long time, and every age sort of has its own kind of best practices. But like for you, what do you find over the years has really worked?
Well, being a sparkly, magical badass definitely works.
They can see it.
They can see it. And I don't know, kids even now, I'm still teaching, but kids, like they stare at me in the store or they'll turn around in the restaurant and they like play peekaboo with me. I don't know. They seek me out. Some toddlers sometimes just waddle over to me at the park and like, I don't know who they are or who they belong to. And they're just like, hey, so do you mean element for like personality for teaching or like the
things you need to do to be really good at it?
So always listen to kids. Behavior is language. And I think, I work specifically for most of my career, I worked from birth to 3. So infants to 3. I worked at a center that did the continuity of care model. So we kept them for those first 3 years of their life in a cohort because brain development is directly related to attachment. And so most of my career, like I said, I worked with, infants to 3-year-olds. So you don't see a lot of the things that you see later in life when they're in middle school and high school, and maybe some kids are getting into trouble and things like that. But always just be listening and watching and know who they are, like to their core. If you don't care about the kids after you leave, like if you're not thinking about the kids when you go home, you just want to go home and like drink an entire bottle of wine, you probably shouldn't be teaching. But when you really care about them and wonder how they're doing and wake up in the middle of the night and like, oh, I know why this has been happening. And then you like write it down, or you can't, race to work in the morning and have a conversation with the parent or the caregiver. But gosh,
that's when you're meant to do it.
You're really meant to do it. And some ages you don't mesh well with, and that's okay. You're like, wow, I really can't do babies, or like, I'm not
no teens.
Or teenagers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like some people maybe just get thrown in and it's not a good fit. And so maybe they'll work better with a different age. And knowing yourself and your limits and stuff.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a break and talk more about this because I'm real fascinated. So back in a few, D1 All-Stars, Shalicia Johnson. Let's go. D1 All-Stars, Alder Joe, Shalicia Johnson, we are back. So let's take a little pivot and talk about where you live. So you grew up in Madison. Did you go to college here as well?
Yeah, I went to I went to UW for like 4 seconds, and then I took a break. But I ended up getting my degree from my early childhood education degree from what was MATC, Madison College.
Right on.
So that's where I went. I went to West High School. Shout out to West, Regents in the house.
Go Regents.
Go Regents. So I've lived in Madison, like from my mom's house to my apartment to another apartment, and the rent is ridiculous. It was ridiculous a long time ago, and it's ridiculous now. So we were just kind of looking at, like, can I afford anything to buy? So I actually bought my condo 17 years ago. I've been here 17 years, and that's how I ended up in Fitchburg. Yeah.
And you're right behind the PDQ, or the former PDQ.
I'm still mad about that because for all this time, for maybe 15 years, I could just walk there, or every time I left my house, I literally had to drive past it and then drive right back by it. So, you know, that lie we tell ourselves, I'll just get gas in the morning. I could literally just get gas in the morning. And now I have to drive a couple blocks. It's like first world problems, but I'm still mad that gas station is no longer there.
So, and I didn't know those condos were in the back until I started campaigning. So I didn't meet you there, but I met a lot of your neighbors over there. And so tell me, what do you like about where you live?
I actually like it because it's quiet. I like to come home. My life is super busy. Like yours, you're probably, when you get home, you're probably just like, yes. I kind of like that too, because I have to be on all the time, you know, working in early childhood education. And then with my photography business, I'm working nights and weekends. And so I like that I'm not like, I used to live on Regent Street, like right by the stadium, and that was terrible. Yeah. So because there's a lot when everybody's partying and you're not. Yeah. So I like it because it's quiet. And it's funny because I'm tucked behind the sound wall. So, and I'm on a court. So I'm not I'm in a neighborhood kind of, right? But it's weird. So Arrow and I, my dog, the love of my life, Arrow, when we go through walks, we like cut through the grass and we come out on Tahi. And so then we walk from Tahi to Raymond Road, but we go up, there's a dead end or like a little cul-de-sac on that whole side of the street. So we go up, go down the cul-de-sac, go up another block, do the same thing. But everybody in the neighborhood knows Arrow. And so they're super nice. They come out and talk to us. They can't believe that he just turned 13 because he acts like a puppy. I just got invited to like a corn cob party, or I don't know what it's called, but like it's involving corn and it's probably delicious. And we're going to go. But like,
it's your sparkles and your badassness.
Yes. I'm so sparkly and badass. They're like, do you want to come to my corn party?
Yes.
So I love, everybody's like super, super nice. So they're not like my immediate neighbors. I think in my area, like a lot of places, I think people keep to themselves a lot. I don't see a lot of my immediate neighbors, like so I don't know why that is, or if people are just kind of like that all over the city now. I don't know.
Yeah, they wanted to be tucked away on purpose. I know you're involved. You know, I met you at the Fitchburg Chamber event. I think you're a part of the chamber. You're obviously sparkling around your neighbors. What you know about Fitchburg, your neighborhood in general? Like, what do you think we need more of? What do you think we could do better at?
Well, one thing I noticed is that I don't see a lot of kids outside, and I don't I know they have kids because I hear them like squealing when I go by, or maybe a couple kids will be in their driveways playing basketball or something. But I was thinking about that. I don't see kids out playing, and maybe when I drive past, the park, what's that park around the corner on Whitney Way, just that park right there, they're shooting hoops or whatever.
Yep.
But that's really the only thing that I see is kids playing basketball. And that's about it. So, when you talk about having a teen center and a teen hub, I think that would be a fantastic addition to the city. I think it's definitely needed because like I don't see anybody. I don't know where they are and what they do, but we do know that there's, some kids getting in trouble around the city. And I think if they had some place to be looked after, to be heard, to be seen, to be engaged with each other and engaged in a healthy way with other people, with the community. I think that would be fantastic. Having the capital to get that, who knows? But I don't know. Yeah. I think it has to happen. It has to happen. I don't know. It will make a way. I don't know. But I think, more stuff for the kids to do. I know that there's like Meadow Ridge, over there by the library, but I don't often see that really happen either. So,
no, gathering space is super important. Yeah, I mean, and one of the things I noticed, like when I was running, is it sort of forced me to get out and meet a lot of people, and COVID shut that down. But prior to that, there was these events. We got to meet folks, got to talk, got to know more about one another, and sometimes even when there's tension politically. Just the fact that you can gather with other human beings diffuses that, and you can talk to people and get to know who they are as a person and what makes them tick, and it builds community.
Right.
Yeah. So you're also a photographer. You own your own photography business. So I want to hear more about that. Tell me how that came about after your devastating blow at the career fair as a kid.
Right. It was just something I've always been fascinated by. I think I picked up a Kodak Instamatic in like 1980 or 1981. I don't know if you remember, it had like the flash cube on it, and then one had a flash stick, and every time they do the flash, they'd explode and be gone. But I just loved it. I took pictures all over the place. I took pictures at horseback riding camp. And of course, we had to wait, like 2 weeks to get the pictures back. And half the time there's a finger in it, but whatever. You learn from that. But then I just started as an early childhood educator. Our salaries are not great. And so I definitely needed something to help out, to help make ends meet, help go to dinner if I wanted to and not be strapped by it. And so that's me having a really good eye for photography and using my camera in my classroom, taking like just really great shots of the kids in there. The parents always loved it so much, doing focus portfolios, that kind of thing. And that's when I was like, this would be the next step for me. And it felt really, really good. I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna launch my business. So I did.
Awesome. Yes, Aerostar Photography. Look her up. Facebook, Instagram. We'll keep pubbing her. So Shalicia Johnson, D1 All-Stars. We will be back in a few. All right, Shalicia Johnson, D1 All-Stars. We're back. So let's talk a little bit about early child care. So the pandemic, right, affected all of us in different ways. But how did it affect the babies? In your professional view, what did you see? What did you experience from families?
So actually with my agency, we shut down completely. Okay. And so I can imagine it was really hard. A lot of our families are experiencing homelessness and high mobility. We had, Chef Dave Heidi from Liliana's, Little John's, what used to be Charlie's on Main. He fed our kids last year, because that was one thing that we were really concerned about as an agency, was like, who's going to feed these kids? Because a lot of children, and not just in our agency, but a lot of children, across the board, get their most nutritious meals from daycare or from school. And so a lot of times when school is not in session, these kids don't eat. And like I said, that's going to be anywhere, typically across the United States. That's just what happens. So our agency did a lot to have like outreach workers, doing things virtually that they can do, like doing lesson plans online, making little kits for families, bringing them like activities that they can do to kind of help them out with their development at home and things like that. And I can't quite tell you if they were all doing like home visits or not, because I know everything was, I don't know if they were doing that, but I do know that they were involved in getting families activities, materials. If they needed diapers, they were still able to provide that kind of stuff, formula, extra clothes. So that part of caregiving didn't stop during the pandemic. But I do know nationwide and probably worldwide is that the pandemic put a spotlight on the childcare system and that we legitimately are the backbone of the entire ecosystem. Nothing works when there's nobody to take care of your children. And
that's real.
Right. And so, like I said, I started my photography business so I could like pay some bills.
Obviously like vaccines, things started to open up. What was the after effect of that you saw? I mean, was there an effect in the psychology of, kids? Did you see, a change in them once they got back?
I think they were really, really excited to come back. And so I'm actually the assistant director. At one of my agencies, but it was closed the entire time. So I'm filling it at another one. But just seeing the kids coming in, really excited to see their classmates, had no problem wearing masks. And still,
they're good like that. They're better than adults.
They are way better than adults.
Yeah.
Way, way, way better than adults. And so when the older kids transport themselves from the classroom to the playground, they mask up. Parents are still having to drop off outside. My job for right now is like radioing our kids or radioing the teachers and being like, hey, so-and-so's here. And the teachers like come and get them. Same thing at the end of the night. And so my particular site that I'm filling in at hasn't had a COVID exposure. And we're still doing, if you're in a classroom more than 15 minutes, you can't go into another one, that kind of thing. But kids are happy. They're adjusted. The babies, because they read facial expressions, and so many educators and experts were wondering what this was going to do because they can't see the human face, and they want, kids aren't going to be able to read your face because, little babies that just get here, that's all they have is to look at you to like kind of figure you out. But so the kids now are just really adept at reading your eyes, what your eyes are saying. Mm-hmm. They do have some things for the deaf and hard of hearing, that open up here so you can lip read and things like that. But a lot of them get foggy and then you can't see anyway. But for the little babies, it hasn't seemed to affect their development negatively. Yeah. No, they don't seem afraid. But
that's good.
Yeah,
that's right. So, you're a business owner. I want to promote your business. What do you have going on right now? I know you're probably really busy now that it's summertime.
Yeah, now that people are like not afraid to get their pictures taken, so now we're doing like headshots all the time, but family portraits, senior portraits, that kind of thing. But I'm really excited. I'm running a campaign, and it's called I'm Possible, and I'm raising money for the Trevor Project, and the Trevor Project I think is like the largest organization that helps LGBTQ plus youth with life-saving help for if they're having mental health issues, if they're feeling suicidal, that kind of thing. They're the largest organization that you can reach out to if you're in the LGBTQ plus community. And so I'm doing empowerment sessions, and I have slots booked almost every weekend throughout the month of August. And they have an empowerment word. If you check out my Facebook page at Aerostar Photography, you'll see one of them has Brave. I painted Brave on the collarbone, shoulder area. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Shout out to Nemo. Nemo, yes.
We found him.
We found Nemo. So yeah, it's $99 minus. It's a $99 donation to the Trevor Project. They get a free gift. So all expenses or all the collected donations minus the gift expense is going to go 100% of that is going to go to Trevor Project. So I can't wait. So it's going to be awesome.
Beautiful.
Awesome. I'm really excited.
Last question that I have for you. I know we always run into each other at a restaurant in Monona, but I want you to tell me, what's your favorite Fitchburg place to eat?
I love Liliana's. I totally do. I had so much takeout from Liliana's during when we were at home.
Shout out to Dave Heidi.
I know Dave Heidi's an amazing human. But yeah, Tapatio's is good. Enrique's. I really wish Tacos Katrina. I would really wish that food truck. It used to be right in the corner of Williamsburg Way and Verona Road, and they haven't been there in a while. But I really hope they come back because they're awesome.
So we're going to try to get some restaurants nearby where you live. Hopefully we can do that soon. Thank you so much, Shalicia, for joining us and talking life. We appreciate you and support the Trevor Project.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.